Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to present our webinar this afternoon on the subject of occupational health and safety essentials. And it's been a little bit overdue, this subject, because we've been promoting the works solution, which I think is a very, very good solution for many of our builders. But we do have a solution that predates works, and that's the one I would like to share today. It's the one I used as a major builder in New South Wales and throughout Australia, and I think it's still a very workable solution. So we offer that as an alternative to those who are wondering what else is available other than the works solution, which again, I repeat, I think is a good solution. Let's just dive in now to some of the OHS essentials. I'm breaking this into really the things that you must do as a builder if you want to protect your, let's say, your liability as a director of a building company. If you don't do these minimum things, then you're really leaving yourself very exposed. And then the second part of the webinar will dive into some of the extra things you can do that'll obviously increase safety outcomes on the sites. So what I'm going to refer to today, the Integrity Occupational Health and Safety System, is sourced in Global Documents Construction OHS Essentials folder, which I have on screen there. So if you've got another screen available at the desk you're sitting at, I'd invite you now to go to that folder and open up the OHS Essentials folder, because I'm going to refer to a couple of things in there, and the presentation will be more meaningful to you if you can see what's in that folder. So it's Gyro, Global Documents, Construction, OHS Essentials, and you'll find two documents in there. One's a comprehensive manual that's designed to cover whole of business and comply with the Australian standard. So if you wanted to go and say, become a certified that your whole of business is compliant with the Australian standard, then the whole manual will be the way you do that as a whole of business, which covers your office operations and your site-based operations and everything in between. There's a smaller subsection of that manual we call the supervisors section, and that's the main one we'll reference in our presentation today, because that's covering what's happening on the site, which is clearly where your largest risks are. So please get those documents open as we begin, and that's what the front cover of the OHS manual looks like, abbreviated here to the HS manual, but nevertheless the project managers section starts on page 119. I have that pulled out as a second or a standalone section, because you really would be appropriate to take just that project manager section and have it available on each of your sites, or be using it with reference to a site. So designed to be a working document that you're completing as part of running a site from day to day. Now there's two things, well, there's many things should be happening on your site, but these are two of the things that would be essential to getting started with a basic occupational health and safety system. One is having some sort of receptacle for having an exchange of documents on the site. In other words, how does a subcontractor access a document on the site? I've found over the years that a site safety tube is one of those ways. Now, yes, it can be torn off. Yes, it can be thrown away. Yes, it can have nothing in it. But I haven't been able to come up with a less costly, more waterproof, more easily accessed solution than a site safety tube, which is simply a 300mm piece of tube, screw cap on one end, glue cap on the other, that you can put documents in and house them on site in a waterproof way. So we produce these stickers, which are available in the promo store, for you to sticker that tube so it's obvious to someone that comes to the site. That's where they can find occupational health and safety related information, or they can leave information there relating to that. coincidentally, they also double as a spot delivery guys leave their dockets, but that's fine, no problem at all. So I think you should have somewhere on site if you're going to use a more manual system like we're talking about today. And you also need a site sign that deals with occupational health and safety. And I've got an example of that on the screen. It talks about dangers, it talks about emergency response contacts, but most importantly, it's got the site safety rules visible to everyone. So it's too small on screen to see there what the site safety rules are on this example, but Print Nova, who have a lot of our print resources on file, certainly have templates of these available. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't done this yet, get some site safety tubes, get some site signs that deal with occupational health and safety requirements, particularly the site safety rules. Now, clearly site safety is meaningless without engaging your subcontractors. And you might think, okay, what's the journey of a subcontractor look like? In our system, a subcontractor is designed to receive a purchase order and an Integrity Edge document. And the first line on every one of those Integrity Edge documents says, go and fill in a trade agreement or a TAC. And it points them to a website link here that I've got on screen, that inh.com.au/trade contractor. And if they click on that, they'll find this is what will be presented to them, which is the trade agreement that they can download from one of our builders' websites. So inside this trade agreement is the beginning of that occupational health and compliance journey. In other words, it's saying to the contractor, okay, we need your SWIMS, we need your license, we need your workers' comp policy, and several other things. So if you're thinking, how do I engage the contractors, this is where the journey starts, with the trade agreement, starting to lay out the expectations we have in terms of OHS compliance with the contractors. Now, you as a builder obviously need to lead by example when you go onto a site. So if you're expecting a high degree of safety compliance for your contractors, but you're coming onto site with thongs or joggers on and not high vis, then you're really not setting the example that's saying I'm serious about safety. So I'd say to you, if you haven't got a high vis vest as a minimum that you can pull on when you go onto site, then that's a gap, and you need to get one. And you need to have yourself a white card so you can evidence that you've done the bare minimum in that space. And then as you start to talk to contractors about their safety requirements, you're evidencing that you're leading by example. So please note those couple of things down. Now, clients are the other sort of part of the puzzle here that tends to get left behind with safety. But for me, I think client induction is really essential. I mean, if you think about many of our clients, they don't go onto building sites regularly. They have no exposure to our industry other than one project maybe. So they're actually a very high risk participant in the building process. So I really recommend a client induction, and you'll find in that subsection of the manual, the supervisor section, there's a client induction process there. The other really valid thing to talk about with client inductions, if it sets a standard for a client that says, I'm serious about safety, but not only that, I'm serious about good outcomes on this site for everyone. It also helps you down the track if client access is becoming problematic, because we have, as one of the standard letters you can generate in Gyro, this breach letter, and you can say to a client, I noticed you were there on the weekend. I'm sorry you're not able to access the site unsupervised, and we hope that doesn't happen again. But if it does happen again, you can formalise that with a breach letter. And clients aren't going to receive this very well if they weren't inducted initially and see evidence that you take site safety seriously. So really encourage you to consider the client, the subcontractors, and your own team as part of a safety program. Now, let me just go back over the essentials for a small builder. and then we'll turn our attention to some of how you could sort of optimize safety on your sites. Keeping in mind everything I say is both about compliance, but it's also about sending everyone home safely at the end of the day. So I don't want you to hear me as if I'm only talking about paperwork and that type of thing. The paperwork will protect you if there's a problem. I'm more interested in though everyone actually being safe on site. So I hope that's coming across clearly. Now, safe work method statements. Your trade agreement says to your subcontractors they have to supply a safe work method statement. So please don't fall into the trap of giving your contractors safe work method statements. You need to ask the contractor for a copy of their safe work method statement and ensure that they've signed it. So they've signed it, their team have signed it. Get a copy from them of a document they've sourced or prepared themselves. Your own team, your direct employees need to have signed your safe work method statement. Now, inside that download we did at the start, I mentioned at the start, there is a comprehensive safe work method statement for a builder. So you can use that as your version and ensure that all your team have got their signature there, because the reality is if someone hurts themselves, that's the only way you can evidence that you've provided training in safe work, because you as an employer or principal contractor need to be able to evidence that you provided training and you're providing a safe site. That signature on the safe work method statement is the evidence that you're looking for. In addition to these safe work method statements, if you don't have them, start there. In addition to that, first aid kits for all your team, yourself, compliant first aid kits, and also ensure your subbies have first aid kits. Now, everyone received that was on the team as of last year received a Christmas gift with a first aid, which was a first aid kit, and that's very intentional because that helps you be compliant in that space as a builder. But it needs following up. First aid kits expire, your subbies might not have them. So yes, you need to check for first aid kits. We've mentioned site signs with the site safety rules. That's really essential. You also need a clean toilet with hand washing facilities. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but that's just so important in providing a safe and enjoyable workspace. Signed trade contractor agreements are the contract between you and your subcontractor. And again, they're really critical in managing liability as a builder if you have a signed trade contractor agreement. Induction records we've touched on, particularly an induction record that you've inducted your client. But if you can also induct some of the high risk trades, your liability will be better managed than without inducting people. In the office, you need to be looking for workers' comp policies that are current, contractors' licenses that are current, public liability policies that are current, and white cards that are current. So I would be saying to whoever's managing the payments for your business that we need to know these things are up to date prior to releasing payments to contractors. And that's just a gatekeeper for that process. I mean, a good contractor is going to provide these things, but if they're not there, that's where you're relying on your accounts payable team to back you up and ensure compliance in that space. These things are not going to make the site safe. They're going to reduce your complexity and liability if there's a problem on the site. And from time to time, we have them. So these are the things you need to be thinking about. If you're stepping foot on a site as a supervisor, these are the things people are going to get hurt from typically. And you'll see most of the emphasis from regulators around these things. Falls, so that's falls from scaffold, falls from ladders, falls from roofs, falls from stair voids. Interestingly, stair voids is a real big one. So thinking how to prevent falls. Cuts are common. Electrocution is a big problem. So I know tradesmen and builders in every single one of these categories that have suffered an injury in this space. Lifting injuries is also common in our industry. Silica dust is an emerging problem. And I've started to say to all of our builders on business coaching calls, are you dealing with the management of silica dust, both the documentation of that and the practical aspects of that on site? And interestingly, suicide's getting a lot of emphasis in our industry at the moment. It's a mental health challenge, so it comes up in this space. So they're the things people are having serious injury or death from on our sites. And so if you're thinking, okay, well, I've got the paperwork sorted out, what do I actually need to look at on these sites? There's a quick reminder of the things that are likely to cause problems. If there is an accident, there's a good chance that it might very well be notifiable. So on this slide here, you can see a notifiable incident is the death of a person, serious injury or illness, or a dangerous incident. So that supervisor section has a place where you can write up the details of an accident and notify the relevant authority if something like that happens. So again, that's a minimum standard that you would need to meet as a builder if there was God forbid, an accident or a death on your site. Now, beyond all these things, if you say, okay, Glenn, I've got that sorted out, I've got all my swims, I've got everything you mentioned there, my sites are safe, I'd say excellent. These are the kind of the next level things you can think about doing. And certainly people that are optimizing their business are doing these things. So site audits, page 146 in that supervisor section has got a place there you can walk around a site and audit it in a formal way. So you can just do one of those from time to time on the site, particularly times when the site's dangerous. So scaffolds up, trenches are open, framing's exposed. You might do a site audit and have an expectation for your supervisors that they would audit at that time. Get these types of documents, pocket guide to construction safety, have that in the top pocket of your supervisor, and use that as a tool to consider quick reference other things that can be done on your site to make it safer around compliance and practically. Safe work method statement compliance is so a lot of safe work method statements we're given are absolute garbage. Now, it's easy to just get a safe work method statement, see the signatures and file it away. If you really want to do well in this space, you'd get the safe work method statement and look at some of the minimum standards it needs to meet. And there's a checklist in that supervisors section where you can just check that the safe work method statement is compliant. Surprise you how much garbage there is out there in the industry. Toolbox talks are the next thing here, where you simply once a week sit down, the main trades are on the site, and talk about safety. Talk about how you're going to do it safely, or the safety aspects of that site and your expectation, and pass the record of that around the group. Like, you do it at Smoko, so you're not taking up people's time, but you've documented that you've had that conversation. That will just do the world of good if there is ever an issue on the site. The fact that you've had toolbox talks and you've documented them, that's what the standards call for, and compliance in that space will be really helpful to your business. Contractor site inductions we've mentioned. Risk assessment booklets. Look, the HIA produced this. I've used it many times. Again, it's just a little pocket-sized book where you can write down the project and identify. Show you a page on that. It's quite easy for a supervisor to complete, but you're simply identifying a risk. So you've come onto the site, you've gone, okay, this site's got a fall hazard here. You whip this book out of your pocket and go to the site, hazard identified, the stair void is a problem. We're going to do this to fix it. Tear it out, hand it to the subcontractor or staff member that's responsible for that rectification. And you're evidencing a system that that both documents and record and help someone understand your expectations in that space, rather than just a passing comment which is never actioned, and someone falls later that day and kills themselves. You've got real problems on your hands. So having risk assessment booklets like that are really helpful. Material safety data sheets should be on our sites. See very little compliance around this, but if you're trying to optimize your occupational health and safety, you'll have material safety data sheets available in the little tube, or handed to the contractor that might be using that material you're supplied, and that's best practice. The engaging your suppliers in this space again is really optimizing. So you're looking to suppliers to provide their material safety data sheets, their safe work method statements, and really talking about how they can do what they do safely on site. And you'll see the people that are winning safety awards are engaging suppliers. I'm saying to you, if you haven't done much in this space, don't worry about your suppliers. Focus on your clients and your subcontractors and your staff. But if you really want to optimize, start to engage with your suppliers. And safety awards, I see. I haven't seen anyone from our business win a safety award yet, but I think that'd be a great precedent if someone did. And finally, these initiatives from various state governments, and here's the latest one from New South Wales, offering a $1,000 rebate to people that attend one of their training events, and they give $1,000 rebate if you purchase some safety gear like step ladders and so on. So I've accessed these from time to time. They're great incentives and fairly easy to get. So that's a summary of the essentials with occupational health and safety. Like I said at the start, I think Works is a great solution for some of our bigger builders that are starting to scale and want to put a digital system around this. However, for our smaller builders, there's a lot of work to be done quite simply with the systems we have available to you at the moment. So I'd like to thank you for attending our webinar, and I'll be touching on this in the weeks and months ahead, but I hope you've learned something, and I'm happy to take any questions if anyone's got any. Any questions there? Well, looks like I've got an early mark, so thank you for attending. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Bye for now.